As I mentioned in a recent video, my wife and I opened up a cash management account at Fidelity, and we're going to slowly transition banking over to that account for a lot of reasons. Chief among them is the interest rates you can earn on the money market funds that can be associated with that account. And so far, we're actually loving it. However, I've received a number of emails from folks saying, Rob, haven't you been paying attention? Fidelity has been limiting access to funds that get deposited into that account, and in some cases have even been locking people out of their accounts. Well, that doesn't sound very good. So I dug into the details, and in this video I'm going to share what I've learned, what's going on, where's the truth, maybe what can we do about it. It turns out that some of these concerns, they are legitimate, and it's important to understand what's happening. Now, to understand what's happening at Fidelity, we actually have to start with Chase and what was called the Chase glitch. This is apparently something that was big on TikTok. A number of folks published videos on TikTok, and these are just some of them. The Chase bank glitch. What in the world are they referring to? Well, apparently, and I always wonder how people figure this out, but apparently folks could write a bogus check, presumably drawn on a different bank, go to their Chase branch, deposit it at the ATM, and then immediately withdraw the funds. Now, normally, as you probably know, when you deposit a check with a bank, the bank won't let you have access to that money right away. They will wait for the check to clear, and only then can you have access to the money. But apparently somebody, somehow, I have no earthly idea how, figured out that there was some glitch in the system, and you could write a bogus check and pull the money out right away. It made its rounds on TikTok and apparently became a pretty serious issue for Chase Bank until they were able to fix the problem. Now, this whole write a bogus check, deposit it in the ATM, and then immediately withdraw the funds, that kind of thing has another name to it. It's on the tip of my tongue. It's it's called a felony. That's right. They've all committed crimes, and it turns out Chase is going to go after these folks. We can see this article from NBC News. Chase Bank is referring check fraud, it's what it is, check fraud, glitch incidents to authorities. I actually represented someone in a criminal case, this is 25 years ago, who had written a bogus check. Now, they didn't deposit it in an ATM and try to withdraw the money. They'd just written a check to a business, and they were charged with a felony. And in Virginia, a bogus check written for only $200 or more actually constitutes a felony. Now, at least that was the rule. That was the law 25 years ago. Maybe it's changed. The point is, you don't have to write a bogus check for that much for it to constitute a felony. Of course, that's going to vary from state to state, but that might be something to keep in mind. In any event, that Chase glitch apparently moved over to Fidelity, but there was a slight difference. At Fidelity, they don't have ATM machines, at least as far as I know, so folks weren't depositing bogus checks through an ATM machine. Instead, what they were doing was depositing bogus checks through their mobile app on their phone, and then trying to immediately withdraw the money. And of course, Fidelity discovered it, and they fixed the glitch. How did they do that? Well, that's what I want to talk about. So first, here's an interesting article from Frank on Fraud about the move from Chase glitch to Fidelity glitch. He walks through exactly what happened, and I'll leave a link to this below the video. One thing that I found interesting is right here, he mentions that Regions Bank apparently experienced this same thing a year ago involving mobile deposits, and the losses amounted to $135 million. That's a big number. Of course, I don't know what the number is going to be for Chase, but you can rest assured that with that kind of money at stake, they are going to go after the individuals that engaged in this kind of fraud. And apparently, with Fidelity, folks were contacting Fidelity customers online saying, "Hey, give me your account number. I'm going to make a bogus deposit into your account, and then we can split the proceeds 50-50." Now, I hope you're thinking, well, that doesn't seem like a smart crime to commit. I mean, not that anyone should commit a crime, even if it is smart. But I mean, if we have smart crimes here and dumb crimes down here, this definitely falls to the dumb side, particularly if you're the Fidelity account owner, because it's going to be pretty easy to track you down. But apparently that's what folks were doing. And so a lot of the restrictions that people have been experiencing with their Fidelity, particularly their cash management account, have occurred because of this Fidelity glitch. So what has happened? Well, Fidelity has done a couple of things. Apparently, one of the things they've done is limit how much you can deposit to your account through a check deposited with your mobile phone. For a lot of folks, that limit used to be $100,000, and it's dropped to $1,000. And here's one example. This was published in Reddit. This is a Fidelity Investments channel on Reddit, and you can see $100,000 to $1,000. And when I saw this, and I was sort of thinking, well, I need to do a video about this. I thought, well, I've got Fidelity. They didn't limit me. Don't they know that I have a YouTube channel? So I looked up my account on my phone, went to the mobile check deposit screen, and looked at my limit. It's $1,000. I've been limited. Apparently, I don't know if there's exceptions. In my case, our cash management account is relatively new, so maybe that had a part of the explanation. I can tell you that I've never deposited a check via the mobile app to my Fidelity account. That's just not, we don't need to do that. So for me, the $1,000 limit, at least at the moment, is not a big deal. I don't know how long it will last, but that was one way that Fidelity dealt with this check fraud. They limited the amount you can deposit through the mobile app to $1,000. If I had a bigger check to deposit, I guess I'd just have to mail it in or go to a branch. That's what I'd have to do. But that's the first limit. Now, there have been other limits too, or other restrictions. In some cases, folks have actually been locked out of their accounts. That's scary. Let me show you that. The first came up here. Again, another thread in Reddit, $50,000 of funds locked with no explanation. One of the nice things, by the way, about this Reddit channel for Fidelity Investments is there are folks from Fidelity, moderators, that will respond to these threads. Now, they're obviously not going to give specific information. And in this case, they linked to another thread that's specific for this very issue. I will say that the explanation they give is a very high level. It's not all that useful, to be honest, but you can see the thread and read through some of the experiences that folks have had with Fidelity on this issue. I can tell you that generally, for the folks that have their accounts locked, it's often newer accounts, and there's some activity in the account. It could be maybe a large withdrawal with an attempt to then send the money out of Fidelity, as opposed to, say, trading stocks or ETFs on the Fidelity platform. But there's been some combination of activities that has triggered some fraud concern that's caused the account to get locked down. And what folks have to do is call Fidelity, the fraud department, which I'm told is only open business hours Monday to Friday. This is not a 24/7 kind of operation, and you can be on hold for a long time. Now, I suspect, though, that for 99.9% of Fidelity customers, this isn't an issue. We've not experienced that issue, knock on wood, but it is happening, and maybe it's happening more frequently right now because of the Chase glitch that then became the Fidelity glitch that now Fidelity, is dealing with. I will tell you that if you go back to Reddit and you search, and again, I'll leave links to all of this, but if you search for locked, you will see that this is not a recent occurrence. I mean, people, this is part of the fraud protection that Fidelity has. This thread is from 2 years ago. This one's 9 months ago, another 2 years. Here's one from 8 months. So, this is not something that's just started to happen. I just think because of the Chase issue and then folks trying to do the same thing with Fidelity, maybe the incidents have increased and it's just become more of a public issue. But still, if you're experiencing it, it's a very real issue, and you're going to have to spend some time to get it fixed with Fidelity. Now, the third and final thing that I've seen here is that some folks are saying it's taken a lot longer for deposits to clear with Fidelity, particularly if you want to then send that money out of Fidelity, like through a bill pay. And some folks are even saying that there are long hold times, think more than a week, with electronic funds transfer. So you're doing some sort of electronic transfer, say from another financial institution, and it's still taking a long time. Now, there was, I think, a good article here from the website The Finance Buff. This is one that I link to from time to time in my newsletter that goes out every Sunday morning. Again, I'll link to it below this video. But here's what he says, and this has been my experience too. He says, look, when you do an electronic transfer, say from let's just say from Citibank, to Fidelity, there's two ways. Once you've connected your accounts, there's really two ways to do it. You could go into your Fidelity account and say, hey, pull money from Citibank to bring into Fidelity. Or you could log into your Citibank account and say, hey, I want you to push money over to Fidelity for me, right? You could do it either way. It turns out that there, at least according to the Finance Buff, there is a difference, and my experience says this is true. If you go to Fidelity to pull the money in, they can end up putting a hold on it for a longer period of time than if you were to log into, say, in this case, Citibank, and push that money to Fidelity. Now, in our case, I've always logged into our bank. We don't bank at Citibank, but I've always logged into our bank and pushed the money to Fidelity. And in my case, it's always been available to spend however I want to, including bill pay, where it would leave Fidelity in just a matter of a few days. And so I haven't had any issues there. But apparently folks have complained that in some cases it's taken much, much longer. And it does appear, at least from what I have seen in the threads, and one of them, by the way, is this Boglehead thread that's now up to 145 pages. It's quite long now. It's several years old. But you'll see here in some of the more recent postings, it deals with some of the issues I've just described, that when folks have had these issues, it's because they were logging into Fidelity and trying to pull money from another bank account. And, apparently, I haven't confirmed this with Fidelity, but apparently that can take longer to clear than if you initiate the transfer from your bank. So that's something to keep in mind. I will tell you from my own personal experience, so far, I've been very happy with our cash management account. We haven't had issues, although apparently I checked, as I mentioned, I can now only deposit up to $1,000 in checks at one time or per day with the mobile app. Again, not something that's going to affect us because we don't do that. But I guess in some ways I'm feeling the effects of the Chase glitch that became the Fidelity glitch that hopefully is quickly coming to an end. So there you go. That's what's happening at Fidelity. I think some explanation as to why. As I said, I'll leave links to all of these resources below the video. And if you have any questions, of course, leave them in the comments below. Be happy to help you out any way I can. And until next time, remember, the best thing money can buy is financial freedom.